But we are here with the great, the one and only Neil Waters. Is it Neil Waters? Is that correct, sir? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, mate. Neil Waters. Water with an S.
Neil Waters
Well,
from the
welcome to the show.
he's from the Thylacine Awareness group in Australia. And is that even correct? Am I saying that correct? Thylacine, is that correct?
Yeah, thylacine. I think technically it's thylacine, but everybody says thylacine, so we'll go with that.
Okay. And so now I will tell you something. Now I just discovered the reason we wanted to talk to you, Neil, is I was going down. Now, Neil, do you ever do those ADHD rabbit holes on the internet about learning about something? You keep going deeper and deeper and learning more about stuff.
I try not to because time is of the essence these days when it comes to the internet. But yeah, I have been down a few rabbit holes.
So I'm going down a rabbit hole, and
It's
it
every day
starts
with
with
JC.
what's that?
It's every day with JC. We're
Well,
always
I
learning some rabbit hole.
we love a good rabbit hole, and so I'm learning about marsupials. And when it started with me learning about Pangea, and it started with me learning about this idea that marsupials really have births earlier than regular land mammals. Like a marsupial will give birth about, if you were to do the equivalent of like a human 9 month birth, a marsupial is like 2 months in already giving birth and then keeping the babies in the pouch. Do you know a lot about marsupials, Neil?
I know a fair amount about marsupials. I'm no scientist, but I know the basics of how they function. And, we got not millions, but we got literally hundreds of different species of marsupials in Australia. So, yeah, I've had my fair share of rabbit holing them.
So, yeah, now are you
So,
aware?
well,
That
I
sounds.
will interject for a moment and say we're lucky enough to have one marsupial in our home state of Texas. Uh, we have the opossum, which I believe is the only North
Yeah, that's right.
American marsupial.
Yeah.
But I am seeing here, I'm kind of just glancing through your website. You had a run-in with a possible thylacine. I think it was back in 2014. Is that correct?
I've had a few run-ins with them now. The most recent one was that I caught on video was in
Oh,
2023. I haven't
because what grabbed
updated
my
our
attention?
website for a long time.
Right. Okay. Well, the one thing that grabs my attention is the foot spacing over 8 feet is. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I jumping the shark? I might be jumping the shark.
No, hey, dude.
We haven't
Hey,
gotten to the Tasmanian.
by the way,
Uh,
let's. By
uh,
the way, Cyril, I love your enthusiasm because I'm excited too. So let's explain to people real quick. So Neil, so
yeah.
we'll catch people up real quick so they know what we're talking about. A thylacine is also called a Tasmanian tiger or a marsupial wolf. Can you explain to
Correct.
us a
Sorry.
little bit about the animal itself and when we think it, quote unquote, went extinct? I read about the last one that we knew about in the zoo, and it was so sad. I was so sad when I
Yeah,
read
that
about
was
it.
back in the 30s or 20s, wasn't it?
Yes, very long
Yeah,
time ago.
1936 was when the last captive one died. 1986 is when they officially became extinct. So it's got to be 50 years after the last known specimen dies before they can declare it was extinct.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's been a while in the wilderness, lost in the wilderness, so to speak. But the sightings of these animals has never stopped. And in fact, around the time that the extinction was declared in the 1980s, the sightings were increasing quite a bit. So yeah, it's a bit of a contentious issue. The
So
extinction rate.
kind of in the same way, like I think the coelacanth is the famous story about this. Thought it was extinct for thousands, hundreds of thousands of years or whatever, and then I think it was off the coast of Brazil. Somebody caught a live one, and so the animal's back. We found it. It's just extremely rare.
Yeah, that's that fish. It was actually millions of years, I think.
Millions. Yeah.
It was only known from fossil records, and then lo and behold, someone catches one. So never say never.
Well, and
Yeah. No.
also, hey, Cyril, I want to tell you this, and we'll see what if Neil probably heard about this because this happened close to him in New Zealand. But there's this place called Lord Howe Island in New Zealand, and they had this stick bug that they had a rat invasion in like the 1918s or somewhere around there. The rats killed off. They thought they killed all the stick bugs off, and it was 100 years later they find these stick bugs only one family on this giant volcano like rock in like I think it's called Balls Peak under a bush, and they find 24 of these stick insects still alive, and they had made it. They had lived there just 24 forever for 100 years, had lived there. So I think this idea of like us thinking something's fully extinct, that seems to be a bit of a arrogant thing for us to declare, I would think, that something's fully extinct, you know?
Yeah, it's the interesting thing about extinction is that you don't need a terrible lot of science to be involved to say it's extinct. Oddly enough, though, when you try and get that extinction label removed, you've got to produce more science than you can poke a stick at. So it's a bit of a hypocrisy, really.
Right, but
So now-
but in the eyes of things, I just the extinction, like, so the larger the animal is, it's probably easier to claim it. Like if, like, we haven't seen a woolly mammoth. I doubt that there's a woolly mammoth somewhere hidden away. I get the coelacanths. I get the the stick bugs, something relatively small. But the thylacine we're talking about possibly being 8 foot or larger. Is that approximately their size? Like, because that seems like hard. That seems a lot harder to lose.
Well, it's technically it is. You're right. They get to about 7 foot long, tip to tip, a big adult male, and that could be well above 50, 60 kilograms in weight. But you've got to bear in mind, Australia's a very big continent with a lot of hiding places. And these things have been seen all over Australia, not just Tasmania.
True. Okay.
And they're not a pack animal like a wolf. They're very solitary in their nature. They'll do a small family group with a couple of juveniles, but they're very, very rarely seen or caught historically in a large group. So sightings of more than one animal together are quite rare.
Okay.
Well, and Cyril, I'll tell you this: the thing that go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Just to interject for our American listeners, 50 kilograms is about 110 pounds.
So
I
had to look at it. Yeah.
So what I guess I'm interested in is like what I've seen, Cyril, that really piqued my interest, and that Neil can probably attest to, is that it's not like it's almost like a kind of a not well kept secret that these things are being spotted on hunting, because you know how people have those hunting cams up everywhere now. These things are getting spotted. Yeah. They're getting spotted in these hunting cams left and right. Like it's very obvious. It's almost like very obvious, and it's weird because it's like Neil's saying, like, I think it's, if you're in Australia right now, there's probably this feeling of, oh yeah, the Tasmanian Tiger is still around. Just we can't get people to admit it. It's probably almost like an accepted thing. Yeah.
Well, that is a good question. Then, if we do think they exist with, with the introduction of highway systems and cars, like, are they being found on the side of the road? Are there any remains that we've come across?
So on the mainland in the 1960s, there was several fresh dead specimens that were found in caves. There's a section of Australia called the Nullarbor Plain between South Australia and Western Australia. Null meaning nothing, arbor meaning trees, so it's Latin for no trees. It's very much a treeless desert-like landscape with a lot of limestone sinkholes and caves. So there was a couple of fresh dead specimens found on the Nullarbor during the 1960s. And back then they used to use carbon-14 carbon dating, which was known and is now known to be very inaccurate and not reliable. And they gave an estimate of around 2,000 to 4,000 years of age for these animals. Oddly enough, the animals had blood. They had maggot casings next to them. They had fur. One even had an eyeball and its tongue still. So to say that it was 2,000 to 4,000 years old is grossly inaccurate. And a couple of the scientists at the time questioned the carbon dating being incorrect. And not surprisingly, the scientists of today don't want to go back and revisit that carbon dating process because it might make their academic papers look a little bit inaccurate and not quite right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we do have a good timestamp for about the 1940s, because I believe in the carbon dating, or whatever the correct term is, once the nukes were invented and started being tested, we've coated the whole planet with a layer of nuclear
Correct.
material that calls
Correct.
out that exact like 1946 or timeline.
Yeah, well,
so
South
we can
Australia
see if it's
had
before
a
or
whole
after
heap
that.
Yeah, we had a whole heap of nuclear tests in South Australia in the 1950s and 60s. So the carbon dating from that era is absolutely next to useless, basically.
Right, but I mean that would give us a good
yeah.
like line in the sand of does this creature possess those radioactive isotopes or not, and that would tell us before or after, at least 1930, 1940 range.
Hey,
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of samples around to compare, unfortunately.
Okay, fair.
So Neil, I gotta ask, because this is like I gotta ask two kind of dumb questions, because Cyril's a smart guy, he knows about this stuff. I just like 2 weeks ago just learned about these Tasmanian tigers, and I was so fascinated by them. And so I guess number one, you said a place in Australia called like Land of No Trees or something. How many
Nullarbor.
places? How many places in Australia, Neil, are just like vast stretches of just fucking nothing, just nothing, dude?
The interior is very desert-like of Australia. Most of Australia's population is within 150, 200 kilometres of the coastline, and that's from one end to the other pretty much as far as people go. There are trees in the desert. There are areas of woodland and dry forest in certain parts. We have the Flinders Ranges in South Australia, and that's got a lot of native pine trees right through there. So there are forests, but it's just a very dry land.
Where do you live, Neil? Where do you live at? Where are you at?
I'm in Tasmania at this point in my life, but I'm from South Australia on the mainland, and that's the hottest, driest place in Australia, South Australia. It has the least amount of rainfall, but there's still forests there.
Is it a little town? What's the little place what's the name of the place you're from?
Where I'm from is Adelaide, so that's the capital city of South Australia.
Adelaide.
So
okay.
it wasn't a little town. It was a reasonable sized city with about 1 million people.
Wow.
But where I live now is what you would call in the middle of batshit nowhere, where there's 10 houses in northeast Tasmania.
So, I live in a similar situation. Now, these sightings of the thylacines, are they from that South Australian region? Or are we seeing them all over the country? Like how?
All over the country, mate.
Okay, so we think it is a widespread.
It's absolutely widespread. It's not very well reported on in the mainstream media, and certainly Tasmanians love their Tasmanian tiger, so they're a little bit resistant to the mainland of Australia having thylacines still occurring.
It hadn't even occurred to me that the Tasmanian tiger is from Tasmania. That makes sense. So probably first found in Tasmania, and then spread across the mainland of Australia.
Yeah, so there's been this ignorance on science's part to ignore the fact that thylacines are on the mainland. There's this resistance to the fact that they are all over the mainland. We get sightings regularly from Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, Northern Territory, and the Australian Capital Territory as well. So they are in every state. Okay. They always have been. But Tasmania had the biggest, most densest population because it's a smaller area.
Okay. And then as far as habitat, being I guess it's somewhat related to a tiger, right? Well, no, it's a marsupial. Tigers are feline.
Yeah. It's like a wolf.
But their habitat would be more woodland, coastal areas, or would it travel into the deserts? Like, is that the dry lands like possible?
In Tasmania, it's generally dry woodlands and coastal heathland. On the mainland, it's every kind of habitat that the mainland puts forward.
Okay, so we believe it could be anywhere then. It could be surviving on, smaller creatures, I guess wallabies, kangaroos, things like that for its hunting, and still just out there in the wilderness of the mainland, the central mainland, and just surviving unseen.
Yeah, well, unseen is the ironic part, because the scientists say it's been unseen for all these years, but there are thousands of documented sightings. So it is
until you get in the hands of a biologist, you, me, and my Uncle Joe, we know they're here. We have a similar situation where I'm from, where we're not supposed to have panthers, but we keep having sightings of panthers around a riverbed that we live nearby. So, but until a biologist gets their hands on something provable, quote unquote, unseen.
So Neil, what was it that drew you to the Tasmanian tiger? What got you into this, man? What got you into this?
So I relocated from South Australia to Tasmania in 2010, and I was only living here for about 2 months, and I was walking my dog in the bushland near a lake over the road from my house, maybe 10 minutes walk from home. And something was following me, and it was following me for about 10 minutes. My dog ran away chasing a wallaby, and she wouldn't come back. So I was walking up this track, and I could hear something crunching branches as it was walking along and stopping. And every time it stopped, every time I stopped, it stopped, and it started to give me the creeps a bit. Anyway, I got a bit further up the track, and I went around the corner, and there was a bit of a clearing. So I stood in the clearing, and this thing came out, and it sort of sat behind a clump of grass. I tried to get closer to it, but I got too close, and it took off. When it took off, I got a good glimpse of its silhouette, because it was nearly dark. It wasn't fully dark, but it wasn't far from dark. And I just saw the shape of it as it took off, and I thought, that's not something I would regularly see out here. So then I got speaking to a fella in the local, sort of town down the road, 45 minutes. And he showed me some photographs, and he said, it sounds like you've been followed by a tiger or a thylacine. So I got to know him. He showed me what to look for with footprints and things like that. And then I didn't think much about it. And then 4 years later, in 2014, I was over here from Adelaide, because I was living in Adelaide again by then, back in South Australia. I was over here setting my house up to be a holiday house, actually. And I seen one out the bedroom window. I opened the bedroom window one night to let some fresh air in, because it was quite warm. It was summer. And I just seen this thing walk past under the moonlight, past the track out the front of my house. And then about 3 days later, I was walking over by the lake, and I found a big, long trackway of prints in the creek there, where one had been chasing a wallaby. So that's what really got me interested. I went back to Adelaide. Yeah, I went back to Adelaide. I ended up coming down quite ill, and I was in bed for about 3 weeks. So while I was sitting in bed, I got on the computer and started typing away, and wanted to learn more about this stuff. And
that's one of those rabbit holes. You went down one of those rabbit holes, man.
I was just about to say that. That's when I went down the rabbit hole.
So hold on. So
and I haven't come up with air since.
Hey, I love it. I hope I don't either. I'm loving the Tasmanian tiger when I saw it, because that's what captivated me about it. Because they say it's extinct, but it's so freshly extinct. There's video of it. You can see of it in zoos, and you can see it and it's such a beautiful looking creature. And when you saw it, were you able to make out those really intricate kind of like stripes on the back of it? Could you see those stripes? Were you able to make those out?
No, I've never seen stripes on one, to be honest. That's the truth. But, it was about 11 o'clock at night when I saw the second one. I've since seen them fleetingly running across the road, I think 3 times. I had one in the headlights in 2022, and it froze in the middle of the road, and it had the brightest, sparkliest eyes I've ever seen. They were like diamonds, and they were goldeny, orangey color. And when it turned slightly under the headlights, they were more of a goldeny, olivey green sort of color. But that was maybe a 5-6 second sighting of one. And then in 2023, we had a fundraiser to buy some thermal imaging cameras, which are handheld like a monocular. And in 2023, I went down the road one morning at about 2 a.m. and just started filming in this paddock, and it was really foggy. So you could see the animals, but you couldn't make out any of the landscape in the background.
Mhm.
Anyway, I filmed one for about 2.5 minutes with the thermal handheld camera in 2023,
Wow.
and it's on our YouTube channel. It's been on there for a while. And, you know, I've had a few trail cam photos. You guys probably aren't aware, but in 2021, I caused a bit of an upset with the media in Australia and around the world because I claimed to have photos of a family of thylacines, which I still believe I did. But a biologist in Tasmania sort of poo-pooed the photos and said they were of
Fuck them.
wallabies.
Fuck them.
So Neil,
So
go
yeah,
ahead. Finish. I'm sorry.
I had a big media uproar in 2021 that sort of came crashing down on me, but it didn't stop me from trying. And here I am, you know, 6 years later or whatever, still banging away.
My question, I suppose, is with the sightings, being that they are glimpses in, you know, maybe foggy images, is there any animals in the Australian or Tasmanian, you know, fauna that could be misinterpreted as this? Or are there any cat-like or dog-like animals that would reach this scale?
Oh, great question. Yeah, great question.
So on the mainland, we have foxes. We don't have foxes in Tasmania. So the foxes on the mainland often get mange and lose a lot of hair, which does change their appearance a bit. And I'm sure of the thousands of sightings of thylacines on the mainland, I'm certain that a percentage of them would definitely be mangy foxes, without a doubt.
Okay.
However, there are several sightings where there are 5, 6, even 10 people see the same animal or animals. They identify certain features that can't possibly be from a mangy fox. And these sightings are what we would call high in the rating of sightings. There's a rating system for determining the quality of a sighting. And, you know, there was a professor about 2 years ago released a paper that he published on sightings, but he only looked at Tasmania. Now, he looked at over 1,400 reports from the last, 70, 80 years. And he said, even the professor said that it's possible they still exist, but they probably became extinct in Tasmania in the 1990s. However, since the 1990s, there's still been plenty of sightings in Tasmania, and a lot of those same features that people mention in those sightings are recorded that make it a high rating sighting. Now, there's one other animal in Tasmania that you might confuse with a thylacine called a tiger quoll, and they're a reasonably large marsupial predator. They sort of fill the niche of like a mongoose or a ferret, that sort of type of animal in its shape and in its
a mid-level predator. A mid-level predator.
Yeah, it's like a raccoon size.
Well, they call them a native cat, actually, or a tiger cat, because
I pulled up a picture. They're kind of raccoony. They're kind of weaselly looking.
Yeah, but they don't get as tall as a thylacine does. Now, the animal that I filmed in 2023 with a thermal camera was literally 18 inches, nearly 22 inches high at the hips. And a tiger quoll just does not get that high. They'll get about maybe 10 inches high at the hips than, compared to a thylacine, which gets a lot taller. Wow. So the animal I filmed, some people said it was a tiger quoll, but I've been back there and I've done scale measurements. And it was
I'm looking at it here. The tiger quoll is maybe going to weigh, about 4 kilograms at max. And you're saying we're reaching, 50, 60.
Hey, hold on, Neil. Neil, how did he just said 4 kilograms. That sounds like bullshit. That sounds like ridiculous. How much would a tiger quill actually weigh? How much?
A quoll? Well, a big quoll, I reckon you might get one up to about 10 or 12 kilos at the most. Which
not too bad, Serial. Not too bad.
Yeah, no, the average. The internet tells me average is about 7 pounds.
Yeah. They don't get
you
huge,
compare it to a 100-pound animal.
Hey,
yeah,
Neil.
exactly.
Hey, Neil. Do you know that if I were to say, do you do this in Australia? If they were to say this weighs 30 stone, do you know what that means?
Yeah, I do, mate. I grew up with metric and imperial.
What is
JC,
wait,
you don't know what a stone is.
what is stone? What does stone mean? What does stone mean?
Okay.
No, hold on, Neil. What's
I
a stone?
from memory, I think there's about 8 pounds in a stone. Is that right?
14 pounds to a stone.
Shit. 8
Yeah.
pounds.
14 pounds. Okay, yeah. It's
14
been a long
American
time.
pounds to a stone.
Okay, so when I went to school in the 70s, I got the privilege of being hit with both the yardstick or the meter ruler, yeah? So I learned both.
Well, they tried to
way.
do that us in elementary, and we all just said, we're not doing metric at all. Let's keep our imperial feet measures, liters. But we just we have a mix of measurements, and nobody understands how to convert anything.
Yeah, I talk in both because my dad taught me imperial growing up because my dad was a truck driver, so I was always working on his trucks with spanners, So I learned SAE actually. And we had Whitworth as well for English trucks.
I was doing machining for a little while. I learned about Whitworth.
Hey, Neil, what age you just said when you were growing up in school they would basically beat you with a ruler? What years were you going to school? What years was that? Was this the 80s, the 70s,
that was
the 90s?
1976. I used to get belted by a teacher by the name of Miss Lister. She was evil.
Now, hold on. Now, Neil, hold on. Do they still, if you're looking at Australia today, go to Adelaide today, in the United States, we'd say it's soft now. Everything's softer now. Do they still beat the shit out of kids in Adelaide with a ruler?
No. They stopped hitting kids in the 90s, basically. So, yeah, it's all changed. The whole world's gone that way, I think. And in some ways, that's really good.
Yeah, it's nice that we've left the child abuse behind.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a soft, Neil, let's be honest. It's a soft world these days. Neil.
Yeah, it's way softer than it was for you and me.
JC, you can do what you want to your children behind closed doors.
Okay, so we got off track though. Let's get back to it.
Okay, so I do have a good coming back here.
Yes,
going to the website here, could you tell us about the big fat poo of 2017?
Okay. So in 2017, I was bushwalking with a friend of mine in Tasmania, and we went up this mountain. It's not a huge mountain. It's only about 600 yards up, maybe 700 yards up the mountain. Anyway, it's a good view up there. We got up to the top, and I was walking ahead of him, and he called out and said, "Mate, is this what you're looking for?" And I said, "What's that?" And I went back, and there was this giant turd about this big, So it would have been about 8 inches long in 2 segments and about 1.5 inches in diameter. I thought, far out. Well, how did I miss that? So anyway, I had a bag in my backpack. So I bagged it, took it home. It was still warm. It was actually quite fresh. Now, thylacines don't eat bone hardly ever. A Tasmanian devil, they eat everything because they're a scavenger. So when you find a devil scat, it's usually got a lot of fur and bone in it. But a thylacine scat looks like grey toothpaste with no bones in it whatsoever. It's smooth. So that particular turd fit the bill for being a thylacine scat. Now, It was still fresh because it was still warm. So we'd scared the animal while it was taking a crap as we were walking up the mountain, I think. So anyway, we got back home. Yep, I threw it in the freezer to preserve the DNA. Now, when I got back to South Australia, back to Adelaide, because I was over here on holidays in 2017, I couldn't get anyone to test this thing for DNA. Getting DNA testing done in Australia is not particularly easy when you're looking for a thylacine because there's a certain amount of resistance.
It's not as easy as just swabbing it and sending it into 23andMe.
Well, and also, I imagine also, Neil, let's be honest. Anytime you show up anywhere with a bag of poo and go, "Hey, do you want to test this?" People are going to have questions.
Well, yeah, and I don't, shrug away from what I'm doing. But anyway, cut a long story short, finally, I found a guy that could test it at the Centre for Ancient DNA at the Adelaide University. So he said, sure, bring it to my office. This is where I am. Drop it on my desk and I'll get it tested for you. Oddly enough, that same scientist had just written a paper on the extinction of the thylacine and the Tasmanian devil on mainland Australia. And that's how I met him. He was doing a talk about that particular paper that he published. So I rang him up about 2 weeks later to see how it was going. I couldn't get him on the phone, couldn't get him. Took about 3 weeks. Finally, I got him to answer the phone. And he said, oh, yeah, it's still sitting on my desk and I won't have time to test it, sorry. So just come and get it whenever you want.
Hold on.
He poo-pooed my poo-poo.
And what, he just kept it on his desk, keeping it warm, letting it breathe a little bit while he's eating his lunch and doing his work. And
well, he doesn't sit there and eat his lunch. It was in a brown paper bag. Now, with a scat, you're looking for epidermal DNA. Epidermal DNA is only found on the outside of the scat, and it breaks down incredibly quick.
Right.
Now,
some of the cells of the digestive tract slough off as it travels.
Exactly, like the lubricant that pushes the turd out the butt, essentially.
Yeah, it picks up some cellular data as it moves.
Exactly. So the scat itself sat there and decomposed. So then I had to pick it up again, took it back home, threw it back in the freezer. Then I finally found somewhere that was prepared to test it because they had this new machine and they were testing water samples from the Adelaide Hills to try and find platypus because someone said they'd seen a platypus. They're meant to be extinct in South Australia. So they were testing water samples looking for platypus, platypus DNA.
That's a whole other subject, the poor platypus.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole. We'll stick with the subject matter.
Anyway, these guys, I love them.
These guys were really good. They were from the South Australian Water Company, basically, and they had this machine. I went into the office. They showed me the lab. I gave them the sample. They put it through, and it came back as 93% wombat DNA. Now, a wombat is a big, fat, marsupial herbivore, like a badger, so to speak, lives underground, and it does square poos. They look like Rubik cubes, right? They do square poos.
Supposedly to keep it from rolling down the hill and exposing itself.
Wait, hold on. Wait, is that? Wait, hold on.
Whatever.
Wait,
I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Hold on. Is that real?
But anyway, let me finish. Let me finish.
Wombats poop square.
So,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does square shit, all right? So anyway, I wrote back to them and I said, how can it be 93% wombat? Because clearly it's a carnivore scat. And they said, well, that must be what the carnivore ate. Now, in the report, they gave me like a pie chart with different percentages of DNA in this pie chart, right? There was a little slither that was less than 1% of mammals represented. And I said, could you give me a list of all these ones that had less than 1% of DNA, please? So they gave me that list back. When I got that list back, there was an animal listed in there called a numbat. Now, a numbat is a marsupial that has never, ever occurred in Tasmania. It only lives on the mainland. And lo and behold, a numbat is 94% identical DNA to a thylacine.
They do look similar. I just pulled up a photo. They have that from the one that was in captivity, the last known photo. Their markings are similar to that original one. So,
but only trouble is,
maybe relatives.
Big.
Right. But
they're
relatives,
related,
evolutionary,
but distantly related, even though they're 94% the same DNA. A numbat lives on termites. A thylacine lives on hearts, lungs, and brains of marsupials.
So wombat.
So a wombat is a different kettle of fish. So the wombat was what the carnivore had eaten. That's why there was 93% DNA of wombat in that.
Yeah.
Food. So basically, if a numbat had pushed that giant poo out, it would turn the numbat inside out, essentially. Because they're a small
in that case, yes. Yeah, it couldn't have come from them.
So I either had one of two things. I discovered a giant species of numbat that had never been found before that lived in Tasmania, or I found a thylacine turd that had decomposed and only had a tiny little bit of DNA left.
But
Amazing.
yeah, a relative of the numbat through some lineage, is potentially what we're seeing in that DNA sample.
All right, so
yes.
okay.
Yes. And the relative is a thylacine, because there's nothing else that can do a shit that big running around Tasmania. And oddly enough, there was no quoll and no devil DNA in that sample as well.
Okay, so we can eliminate those.
Where does that word thylacine come from? It's such a unique word. Where does that word thylacine come from? What does that mean? What is going on with that?
In Latin, it means dog-headed animal with a pouch, essentially. Thylacine cynocephalus.
Wow, because it does almost look like it kind of has like an Egyptian kind of look on the face of it, almost like a pharaoh kind of thing going on. And then
that
like
is
those
bad genealogy.
Yeah.
It's well.
How you going there, Ralph? Ralph, have you got any questions? You're sitting there all quiet. These guys are taking over here, mate.
No, I just I know we're like 15 hours ahead of time. It's like Friday your time, so I was like, I know you said you have visitors that come. That, like,
all right, so hold on, Ralph, hold on, Cyril, hold on.
That was
Ralph.
You
have to ask Neil. Ralph, you have to ask Neil a question right now. You cannot dodge it.
No,
ask Neil a question.
Yeah, I'm just asking. I'm asking if he do you give like tours and stuff like that? Do you give like a tour or anything?
I have in the past. When I first moved back to Tasmania in 2019, I was actually looking at tourism as a business. But then COVID happened, didn't it? And that destroyed those plans. So because I had my house set up as Tassie Tiger Lodge. So it was a short-term rental accommodation. And I did take a few people out on tours here and there, and I would cook for them and show them different places. So it was going to be a business, Ralph, but unfortunately it fell apart. So now I live in my home again, and life's good. But it's cold. It's winter.
I'm in your Facebook group. So tell us more about your Facebook group.
So the Facebook group I started in 2014, and 90% of my sightings information that I've received, no, not 90, maybe 70% of the sightings information that I've received has come via Facebook. So as much as I don't like social media and I don't like Facebook, it's been very handy, and it's certainly given me heaps of access to a lot of witnesses. We started our YouTube channel in 2016, and we've slowly but surely built that up to over 300 videos on our YouTube channel. There's quite a few of those are now interviews. There's a few videos from a couple of years back, which are just general information type things. I do find a reasonable amount of evidence, and so do other people, that they contribute with and share with me. And I make, reasonable. I'm not a video editor by no means. It's not my claim to fame, but I make reasonable sort of videos where I put that stuff together and put it out there for people to have a look at and have a listen to and just see what they think. Our website I built in 2019.
Yeah, you've got almost like you've got almost like 20,000 subscribers. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I'll tell you what, we only get about 2,000, 3,000 views on every video. So I think the YouTube algorithm doesn't like me very much. So, but anyway.
All right.
Take it over. I'm the first person to suffer from that.
Yeah.
So, Neil, another thing I'm just looking up here while y'all were speaking about the Facebook thing. Do you know anything, or how do you feel about the de-extinction projects going on at Colossal Biosciences, where they're trying to resurrect the Tasmanian tiger?
So there's a fair amount of there's millions and millions and millions of dollars being thrown at that. And a couple of Australians have thrown, like Chris Hemsworth, for example, the actor, gave them $10 million.
He gave the in-game money to him.
Yeah, he gave him $10 million. I think he wants to have one on a leash so he can walk around Hollywood and look good. essentially. Another family trust in Australia gave them $5 million. But get this, the CIA are now giving them money as well. So I don't think that their motivation is entirely honourable. I think they're probably looking at genetically engineering all sorts of things.
Yeah, if you can militarize it, they will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
sure. German Shepherds and what are the Argentino Dogos are pretty scary attack dogs for the military. I can't imagine if they could get a Thylacine on a leash.
Dude, you got a field of Tasmanian tigers coming at you. Hold on, dude.
Oh yeah.
Hold on.
I mean, that's a game changer when you're kicking down doors somewhere in the Middle East.
All right,
they're a pretty powerful animal. They bite the heads off of kangaroos and rip the lungs out through the neck cavity when they feed.
That does bring up an interesting question. Do we have an estimated bite strength? I know the strongest dogs are maybe 3,000 pounds or something. Don't quote me. But do we have a number of the predicted bite strength?
We have a scientific paper that came out about 10 years ago, which was dumbing down thylacines to say that they had a very weak jaw and they only ate, small animals like rabbits and paddy melons and things like that. But their jaw, when it's fully, you have to excuse my fingers because these ones don't straighten. I've got arthritis, but their jaw is rather large when it fully opens. Now, every other animal on the planet that's got a huge jaw gape has got a very powerful jaw. Crocodile, alligator, hippopotamus, they've all got really strong jaws. But for some reason, a scientist wrote a paper that was not peer-reviewed, I might add, that claims thylacines had a weak jaw and they ate little furry animals. It's just bullshit. It's terrible pseudoscience that's not even... I mean, the Smithsonian Institute did a whole heap of research on jaw strength, and I think they probably laughed when they saw this paper. It was published by an academic by the name of Maria Attard in Australia quite a few years ago now. It'd be 8 years ago at least, maybe 10 years ago. This paper was published, but it wasn't peer-reviewed.
And her name was Attard? Her name was Attard?
Attard.
Attard,
yeah. Yep. Thank you for jumping in, JC.
Attard.
Quality commentary.
So okay. Look, we find, and it's historically known, that thylacines bite the heads off of their prey. Now, we find adult male kangaroos that are 6 feet tall all over mainland Australia that have had their heads ripped off and their lungs and hearts removed through the neck cavity. I've had 2 photographs of these sent to me in the last week from the Adelaide Hills in South Australia, from the same lady that I know that sends me bits and pieces of what she finds in her travels. There are no other animals on mainland Australia that feed this way, nor in Tasmania, that just rip the heads off.
So yeah, something unique is...
Yeah, and they leave everything else. They rip the head off, take the heart and lungs, and leave the entire body behind.
It could be aliens. Here in Texas, we have a lot of cows that are just being sucked dry. It could be a chupacabra. It could be aliens.
I don't think they have a chupacabra in Australia.
I'm just saying these unique
plenty of aliens, but no
killing
chupacabras.
Marks. It could be. Just saying, because we don't know what's sucking cows dry.
I know. That's, by the way, that's a movie, dude. The Australian Chupacabra is a movie, dude. That's a movie for sure. Australian Chupacabra.
I'm sure someone in America has made a movie about it, but it hasn't been screened yet.
So okay, Neil, I think we're about to let you go. We don't want to, dude. You've been so kind and generous with your time. We appreciate it. I want to give but I'm gonna kind of run one idea by you, and then before we let you go, I want to really give the Tasmanian tiger its props, because this animal. I mean, honestly, the thing that I was captivated by, it's a beautiful animal. It's a captivating, beautiful, amazing animal. It's so unique in this world, and I do hope there are so many of them still out there. I have hope in that. I really do. So I appreciate what you do trying to bring them still to light to the public. That's important what you do, man.
Yeah, it's not paid work. It's just something that I do because I believe in it, basically. Before I go, though, I just want to give you myself a bit of a plug. We've released a new documentary that's it's going to be online for overseas viewers by the end of the year. But at the moment, we're touring around Australia with it physically into theatres and halls and things like that. It's called Eyes Like Diamonds. There is a link on our YouTube and also our Instagram to a bit of a preview about that, where you can have a look at the short reel and stuff like that and just see what it's about. Also, to go with that, I'm just finished writing my book, and my book is going to be entitled The Thylacine Extinction Narrative and the Scientific Resistance to Investigate the Obvious, because it really is a cover-up in this country that this animal exists. I think that's got commercial reasons attached to it for obvious things like mining and forestry, logging and agriculture and things like that. Housing developments even are being built on area where there's sightings regularly. So it's a bit of a thorn in the side of the Australian government because this animal just won't go away, even though I've got a bit of indigestion, even though they claim that it's been extinct for all these years, But there are thousands of witnesses on the mainland, and there are thousands of witnesses in Tasmania as well that would teach them otherwise. So,
Neil,
definitely,
definitely
out there.
Oh, I just sent Ralph. I found the promo for the trailer for your film there. Sent that over to Ralph. We'll put that in our show notes. Make sure we can get the link out there so everybody can at least preview it. And we look forward to possibly seeing that film when it makes the rounds through the States.
It'll end up on, one of those platforms, those live streaming TV things like Netflix or Prime or something like that.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Get it on Tubi.
Nice
get it on Tubi. Yeah, get it on Tubi. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be one of them.
Hey, so, are you going to play it, Ralph?
No, it's 12 minutes long.
Don't worry about that. Hey, Neil, I want to run one thing by you before we let you go, and this is the last question. This is the last question for you, Neil. It's what I came up with. I live in a world where I think we need new ideas. We've run on the same ideas for a long time. And so I was thinking about, reducing the infant death rate and also helping with the patriarchy. So the thought that I had, I call it marsupialize the males. So the idea is what we do are we get the human scientists to develop pouches for men. And then women will have human babies at about 3 to 4 months. And then the men will carry the babies in their pouches for the next 4 to 5 months. They kind of split it like half and half. So like the men are now part of raising the babies. The women are giving birth. And it's also easier for women. Again, think about how many women's lives are saved by having a 3-month-old baby as opposed to a 9-month-old. It's a smaller baby. It'll be like a pea. They'll shoot the pea out. The man will put it in his pouch for the next 4 or 5 months. Marsupialize the males. Let's end the patriarchy. What do you think, Neil? You think that's a good idea or a bad idea?
I reckon you should probably just stay off the terps a bit, mate. I reckon.
There you go. There you go. Good answer. Good answer.
Look, interestingly enough, here's one for you. In Australia, we have a thing called the Yowie, which is our equivalent of the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, right?
Yep.
Now, there are sightings. There are sightings in New South Wales of a marsupial man. Believe it or not.
I got to read about that shit. What do they call him? What do they call him?
Yowie.
Well, just Google marsupial man, Yowie, and there was stories of females having young Yowies in a pouch. That's true. That's no bullshit. I can't vouch for it. I don't go down that rabbit hole. I'm not saying they don't exist, but that's one more rabbit hole that I haven't got time for. But there really is sightings of a marsupial man of sorts. So
Hey, Neil,
you're
don't
not
worry.
that far out there.
Don't worry, sir. You don't have to go down that rabbit hole. We will do that for you, sir. We will do that
That's
for you.
right,
Sir.
mate. You enjoy that rabbit hole. I'll be over here just sticking with the Tigers, I think.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Neil.
we were
Thank you.
really excited to have you on. No, we really appreciate it and everything. So
Yeah, no, that's all good, guys. Thanks for the time, and I've enjoyed talking to you. It's been a good laugh.
okay,
Have a good
JC,
night.
Serial, y'all got anything else?
Cyril, I'm good.
No, just check out the Thylacine. Visit the Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia.com.au. It looks like a lot of information. As we were speaking, I was kind of skimming through, trying to keep up with you, Neil, and it well documented. It looks great. So any information anybody needs is available there. Otherwise, look forward to seeing your film, seeing your book around.
Excellent. No worries, guys. Yeah, the website needs to be updated, but it's pretty comprehensive. The YouTube channel is where I spend most of my time online putting things together these days, or the Facebook group. But yeah, I don't have a lot of time for social media, unfortunately, but never mind.
No, we're all out there, doing what we can to, spread the word and expand the mind.
That's it.
Excellent. It's all about raising awareness, yeah?
Yes,
Raising
sir.
awareness. Yes.
Yes.
Right, JC. Right.
Are you aware now,
All right,
JC?
guys.
You're aware now.
We're all aware. Have a good night, Neil. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Take
sir.
it easy, guys.